Hey guys, Chris Captures back again on the channel, and today I've got a very interesting, very impromptu video. I didn't know what to make, and I can't buy any manga at the moment, so I thought I would do a video where I recommend you guys manga and comic books based on your previous likes and franchises and stuff like that. I think that's the best way to put it. Basically, if you like one thing, try reading this other thing. Also, yes, I'm holding a microphone this time because I wanted to get better audio quality. My mic stand won't reach over here without just having a normal, on-stage microphone stand, which I'm definitely going to kick over. And also, it gives me something to do with my hands. Before we get into the video, please, if you like any of the recommendations in this, hit the like button. And also, while you're there, just slap the subscribe button because we need small channel number to go big channel number. And if you subscribe now and you decide in 3 years' time that you don't like my content anymore, but at least wait those 3 years, you can unsubscribe then. It doesn't cost you anything. Just do it now while you're there. Thank you very much. Also, up top, if you like any of the manga or comic books that I recommend you today, check on Blackwell's Books. They are not a sponsor, but I am affiliated with them. There is a link down in the description down below. 99.9% of the chance they will have the books on there for great prices. So follow my link through there, buy anything, and you help out the channel. Thank you very much. This microphone thing doing anything for you guys? Because it's doing stuff for me. Okay, we're going to start off with quite an easy one that you might have heard before. This is a comic book. If you are a fan of Star Wars like I am, try reading Saga. Saga is written by Brian K. Vaughan and it has art by Fiona Staples. Much like Star Wars, it is a sci-fi epic. And if you're anything like me, what drew you into Star Wars when you first watched it as a child was how lived in the world felt, the cool, crazy aliens, and how you just had so much to explore. In Saga, you will get just that. The alien races are things that you couldn't even believe to think of. The ideas and concepts that Brian K. Vaughan writes are just absolutely crazy. It follows a young couple of two warring races as they travel the universe, escaping the powers that be from both their factions and also higher powers as they have a baby and try to just live their lives away from their militarist regime, countries and empires, and chaos ensues. Like I said, the world building in this is incredible. It feels so lived in. It feels like every frame there is something that you want to explore further. I will say now, this is not recommended for younger audiences, but if you're like a teenager and upwards, I would say you could get away with this. There are several volumes out already. You can also collect it in big, oversized omnibus editions as well. Or the single issues are still coming out. This story has been going on for years now, and it's only going to get bigger and better. Okay, next up is a personal favorite of mine. If you are into D&D like I am, or fantasy in general, but mainly tabletop RPGs, try Die. That just sounded like I was really aggressively just there, like, have you tried dying? No, the comic book is called Die. I'm not just being like really aggressive and telling you to die. This is by Kieran Gillen with art by Hans and Cowell. This was not what I expected it to be going in. I was expecting Jumanji in Lord of the Rings, and that it was not. So this comic book picks up years after a bunch of friends were sucked into a D&D campaign years ago. Some of them escaped, and it follows their traumatized selves years later as they have to go back to this fantasy world. Now, that sounds like Jumanji. It sounds like, ooh, that's nice and fun, but it's not. This story is driven by trauma in the best way. This book tackles some really dark themes, and the artwork is dark enough to match those themes, but it is absolutely gorgeous. The color palette alone, oof. This will feature some possibly triggering storylines for other people, but for me, it was just grossly engaging. You have characters discovering they may be trans, people questioning their ethics, and dealing with love and loss, and also just how much it would freak you out if you guys lived half or more than your life in another world, became a different person, grew up, and then got put back into your younger bodies, then had to grow up again, and then relive your traumas all over again and try and figure out what is happening with your dead friend. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. I don't know how else to put it other than that. I've only read the first volume so far, and it left that much of an impact on me that I am just craving more. I've got the second volume now. I'm going to read it soon. I think I'm going to take it on holiday with me. I believe there's 3, maybe 4 volumes out in trade paperbacks at the moment, so try and check them out. They're probably online somewhere else as well. This is being released by Image Comics, so I'm going to assume you can read it online somewhere, probably Comixology and stuff like that, even though Comixology is its own separate issue nowadays. Also, if you find that you end up loving the work by Kieran Gillen, he has also written an incredible run on Young Avengers, and he did the Darth Vader comic book, and he's just, strength to strength. Okay, this one's going to sound kind of niche, but if you are a fan of zombie comedies, mainly Shaun of the Dead, which I am a huge fan of, and also series like The Walking Dead, if you wish there was some jokes in it, try Zom 100. Zom 100 is the currently ongoing series written by Hano Aso, who, if you don't recognize that name, wrote Alice in Borderland. This follows a Japanese salaryman who, after thinking he had his dream job, realised that it was trash, which I'm sure a lot of us can relate to, and just wished that the job would go away and the world would end so he didn't have to go to work tomorrow. Again, relatable. He is surprised to wake up though and find that the zombie apocalypse has broken out and he doesn't have to go to work anymore. He struggles to survive, but all the while he plans a bucket list, 100 things to do before he dies or gets turned into a zombie. This series is laugh out loud hilarious. It's one of the few books that I do genuinely laugh out loud while I'm reading. The artwork by Kotaro Takata just matches the hilarity. Honestly, half of the jokes in this book are based off sight gags as well as funny writing, so definitely it's a perfect blend between writer and artist. Like I said, I think it's a great read if you're into your zombie fiction and especially want a lighter side of it, sort of like Shaun of the Dead. You want some comedy aspects to it. Also, it's not a comic book or manga. If you liked this, maybe try checking out Anna and the Apocalypse as well. It's a great Christmas musical based around a zombie apocalypse. It sounds like 3 things that shouldn't work together, and they absolutely do. It's a young indie British production, and it's genuinely incredible. It was one of my favourite films that I watched last Christmas. It's great, go check it out. Okay, so my 4th recommendation. If you are a fan of dark fantasy, philosophical, trippy narratives, if you are a fan of Neil Gaiman in general, maybe you've watched American Gods, maybe you've watched Good Omens on Amazon Prime, maybe you watched Stardust and really liked that, I cannot recommend more. You check out Sandman. Sandman follows Morpheus, the embodiment of dreams, and his cast of characters / family who embody different concepts like death, reincarnation, stuff like that. This is a masterpiece from writing to artwork. I can't name all the artists that have worked on it because there have been many over the times. It ties into the Hellblazer comic books, it ties into DC comic books, it ties into everything dark, DC, fantasy, and dreams. The artwork depicts dreams better than anything I could imagine. You know the edges of your dreams where it's like everything in front of you kind of makes sense, but the stuff around it doesn't? That is where this series lives. This series is also being adapted into a Netflix series later this year. It's yet to be seen whether that series is any good. The cast looks incredible, and the set design that we've seen so far does live up to what I've seen of the comic book so far. I believe there's 10 volumes, I think, and then there's Overture, which is a final part which came back years later, and it kind of rounds out the story in a very interesting way. I'm not going to spoil how it rounds off the story, but like this final volume, I had to get the deluxe edition because it was just that gorgeous. Look at that cover. Also, bear with me a second, I'm going to take the slipcase off because it's even more gorgeous inside. I don't know why I didn't just do it in a close-up. Here is the inside. Look at some of this artwork. Look at it. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely stunning. This is easily one of the greatest series of comic books that you could ever read. If you're into exploring anything deeper than surface level, this is a great series for you to read. Neil Gaiman, after reading this, easily became my favourite author. Maybe not my favourite comic book creator, but definitely my favourite author between this and his novels as well. He's incredible. His mind works in such interesting, dark ways. If you're a fan of Alan Moore's early stuff as well, I feel like you'll really get a kick out of this. It takes stories from biblical to future to dream to abstract concepts that you just can't even imagine. What happens if somebody just falls asleep for 40 years and can't wake up? What happens to their body? What happens to their mind? What happens to their soul? What happens if you unknowingly unleash a demon onto the world and you are trying to capture it, but you can only chase it through dreams? What if your sister is the embodiment of death itself and you just have a full-length comic book just talking about what death means and how life is impacted by death, etc., and how to just live your life to the fullest? If you want your heart to be ripped to shreds and put back together all at the same time, there's definitely issues in this run for you. I love this series. This next series is for anybody who's trying to be creative in their life. If you want to get into a creative industry or you just want to do something small for yourself, if you've ever struggled with it or struggled to get going with it, that I feel is the hardest part, and that is exactly what is captured at the beginning of Bakuman. Now, I'm only 3 volumes into this run. I believe it's 21 or 22 volumes in total. I cannot wait to see where the story goes. This follows 2 young protagonists as they team up to become the best-selling manga creators in all of Shonen Jump, in all of manga, and it's written by the guys who wrote and did the artwork for Death Note, so you know it's going to be incredibly well written, incredibly well drawn. This book pulled me out of a slump. This book helped me start relaunching this YouTube channel to talk about manga, to talk about all the things I am passionate for, because that is every panel in this book is seeping with that passion. If you've ever struggled like feeling like your creative endeavors are not good enough, if you've ever needed a kick up the arse just to keep pushing, to keep striving to do what you do, you will find that in Bakuman. Also, it's one of the books that I learned the most from as well. Not just about me personally, but I mean of an industry. I learned so much about the manga industry just from these first 3 volumes. I imagine by the end of the series, like, I'm going to think I'm an expert. I definitely won't be, but I will know so much more, and it will make you respect other creatives 10 times more than you already do. I'm just using this video to gush about cool things, but also recommend it based off your tastes. So I don't know how many of these I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep going until I stop thinking of things to recommend to you guys. If you are a fan of superhero comic books, and especially Superman in general, you may find that the character gets really boring at times. I found that myself. He is the big blue Boy Scout who can do everything, can do no wrong, and he's not always well written. Often I find in my lifetime he's been incredibly badly written just because he's boring. Unless you take his powers away, he's often just overpowered and can do whatever he wants. But I'll tell you one thing he does struggle with, and that is being a dad. This is for anybody who likes the thought of Superman, but doesn't like the execution of Superman lately. The DC Rebirth run of Superman was incredible. It follows Superman not as a superhero per se, it follows him as a dad. I think a lot of most people's favourite aspects of Superman is his origin and his relationship with his father figure, and this is where it's his turn to step into that role. He has his son Jonathan Kent, named after his father Jonathan Kent, as he raises the next Superman. It shows the ups and downs of childhood, especially being a child with powers, and how do you instill morals in who can potentially be the savior or the downfall of this entire planet or universe in the next generation. How do you integrate him into the world of superheroes, but also integrate him into normal life and make sure that he can still have the same childhood that you had, that many other people have? How does being a father impact your life? How does it change everything? It turns everything on its head, and this is exactly what Superman finds out as he realizes that he can't just go around saving the world the same way that he always has. He can't have the same relationships he always has. He can't do things the way that he always does, and he realizes the fragility of himself. If he doesn't come back from saving the world one time, who's going to raise his son? Before this series, I feel like Superman was so willing to just always lay down his life, and then after this series, it's made him completely change the way that he operates. There's one specific run in this, I think it was like 4 issues maybe, where they go on a tour of America. Actually, it might have just been 1 issue. I think it's like a 4th of July issue, and they're going on a tour of America, and it's Superman and Lois showing their son around America, teaching him what I guess it means to be American, which doesn't mean anything to me, but the morals that they're trying to instill into him are beautiful. There's also an issue where Superman goes and takes a bunch of cancer patients to the moon, and that was one of the few single issues of comic books that had me in tears reading it. It's the most wholesome Superman has ever and will ever probably be. Also, it set Jonathan Kent up just to be the absolute powerhouse character that he is today, and the reason why everybody's loving him. Also, it's Pride Month, so if you want to see like the origins of this version of Jonathan Kent that we're getting at the moment, this is a great place to start out. Honestly, I could not recommend that run enough. I've never been the biggest fan of Superman books because, like I said, badly written character often. This changed everything. It's made me look forward to writing and watching Superman so much more. I would love to see them do this with Henry Cavill's Superman because I think he is an incredible on-screen Superman. I thought he had a great relationship with his father figure, so if they do that in live action, give Henry Cavill a young Superboy and let's just get some of those aspects in it because I think that is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Also, that'll just make me cry in a cinema. Okay, so I'm going to make this the last one. There's plenty more that I can do, but also I'm coming up with all these things on the fly. That's why I might be repeating myself a lot. But if you are a fan of the world building of Star Wars, if you're a fan of the humour of, say, the MCU or Marvel comic books lately, I would almost describe it as very Edgar Wright-like. If you're a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean and witty adventures on the high sea, I'm trying really hard just to narrow down the reasons why you might want to read this series. It'll probably be easier to make a very short list of reasons why you wouldn't want to read the series, and the only reason you won't want to read One Piece is if you've already read it already. Honestly, there is not a single person that I wouldn't recommend this to. Yes, it's a long commitment, we all know that, but you can dip your toe. You can just read East Blue if you want for now, and then give it a break for a year. Take a year off, come back, read Baroque Works and the Alabaster Arc, and then maybe take another little break, and then you come back and you read Skypiea, and then you take another break and you come back and you read some more. You don't need to consume all 1,000 episodes or 1,000 chapters plus in one go. Just dip your toe, see a little bit. Just, I would say, get to the end of East Blue. Again, it's 100 chapters. Most of us can get through that if we really tried in a week or two, if we really tried reading it. A week or two reading a massive series that you might fall in love with is not that big of a commitment. And the payoff, if you do, is it's been the most sold manga and one of the most watched anime series of all time for a reason. It's godlike. Oda is the greatest of all time when it comes to manga writing, when it comes possibly to fiction writing. I've mentioned Superman on this list. I've not mentioned Batman, but I nearly recommended some Batman books. If you like both of those series, this has outsold all of those series near enough. It's outsold Batman. Give it another year, and it will have outsold Superman probably. It's incredible, and there's a reason why it is, and it's just because the writing is so good. It'll have you laughing, it'll have you cheering, it'll have you crying, it'll have you gasping. It's insanity in the best way. You can never predict what's happening unless you're like Oda himself, because he'll lay plot lines down and not pay them off for long enough that everybody, including himself, has forgotten about him, and he'll just go through a folder and be like, oh, this thing, I put a background extra in chapter 2, didn't give him a name, didn't even draw most of his face. He's now the main villain of the next arc because Luffy accidentally dropped something on him, and now he's one of the new 7 warlords or something. I don't know. You cannot predict where this series is going, except for the fact that it's going to be the greatest series you're ever going to read. So I'm just at the end of the Baroque Works Alabaster arc, and already it's some of the greatest writing I've ever read. I've fallen in love with every single character that's been introduced. Never thought that I would get so invested in such a series. I never thought that I would be so invested in just one fairly short arc, being Nami's Arlong Park arc. Even characters that get introduced and you don't like straight away, like Usopp, you start to fall in love with them as well. Characters like Zoro, you just love from part 1 because he's a badass. Luffy is the purest soul we will ever read. He is the most driven soul we will ever read. All those reasons that I said you might like Bakuman for its inspiration, it goes tenfold for Luffy, because Luffy will be king of the pirates, I have no doubt. It's really tricky trying to do all this and express myself while also balancing this book on my head. I'm glad that I've done it for so long. I'm going to take it off now before I drop it. I tip my hat to you, good sir. My pirate hat. Like I said, it's Star Wars meets Pirates of the Caribbean meets everything anime that you love meets the massive, like, imagine like the final fight from Endgame, but that's just like one of the side fights in One Piece. Everything is scaled up to the max, and honestly, if I've not sold this series to you right now, I don't think I ever will, and that's more on you than it is on me, because I'm not good with words, but you should be good at deciphering my words and figuring out that One Piece, being the juggernaut that it is a juggernaut for a reason, and you should just go read it. Okay, so I think that was like 7 things that I recommended. I've probably gone way longer than I wanted to, but there were some really good titles on there, comic books and manga, that I think you should check out. Like I said, all of those series are probably available on Blackwell's Books. All you need to do is follow the link in the description. You don't need to do anything else. Just go through there, and if you buy anything, once you've gone through my link, that helps. Thank you. If you liked anything, if you've picked up anything, or you liked the way that I described stuff, let me know. I feel like I've got more erratic as the thing's gone on, and holding the microphone it's making me go into like presenter mode, which might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. Don't know. You guys tell me. I really enjoyed this video, even though I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing before I started it. And I'm just rambling, so I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be. Let me know what you want it to be. I can't be doing hauls, so if you want to finally see my One Piece video, I know I just gushed about it then, but if you want to see my full thought out thing, I've already written a couple thousand words for that video. I just never got round to it because it's such a big undertaking and I don't always like my script. If you want to see me collab, let me know who you want to see me collab with, realistically. If you want me to recommend some more stuff to you, let me know that as well. If you want me to, I don't know, do a top 5 list maybe? Maybe do a tier list? I don't know what's popular nowadays. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you thought of this video. Leave a like if you liked it. I've already said that. Why am I saying it again? Just end the video, Chris. End the video. Subscribe.